This is the Hartford Online Radio Network. 21st Century Audio. Delivered on thehorn.com.
Hey folks, it's Tuesday evening. It's Hartford Online Radio on thehorn.com, and we're open for business. The show all about business ideas and practical solutions from real business owners. Open for Business is sponsored by Gateway Financial, the accounting firm of Budwitz and Meyerjack, Deepwater Seafood of Avon,
Deepwater,
Sherpa Technologies, CentralCTDental.com. I'm your host, Tommy Russo from L&R Productions, and tonight our guest is Mr. Jim Tully. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, but before we get to you and asking some questions and getting to know you a little bit better, I do want to read a quote. The folks that tune in on a regular basis know I like to do this. And as soon as I read this quote, it came across my email this morning, I thought of you and I thought of entrepreneurs in general. The quote is, "The world needs dreamers, and the world needs doers. But above all, the world needs dreamers who do." Now, if that isn't a creed for entrepreneurs across the board, I don't know what is.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, me too. I just was really impressed by that. And you clearly had a dream, and we'll kind of get to it first, and then I want to go back and talk a little bit about your career. But
Sure.
You had a dream to be an entrepreneur and to, do the Seasons magazine. Tell us a little bit about that and what motivated that dream, what brought it to mind in the first place, and what ultimately brought it to fruition.
100% desperation.
See, honesty. I
Yeah,
like
that's
it.
what you're
you
going
should
to
try
get.
online radio.
I'm not ready for being that honest. But, geez, what got me into being an entrepreneur? Part of it was desperation. Part of it was a frustration. Part of it was just looking to make my own mark. I truly thought growing up, I just would follow my dad's footsteps and go with the corporate ladder and just follow rung by rung by rung and just make that natural progression to whatever ceiling I would find. It's just the way I grew up.
Well, it's interesting. It's the way I think most of us grew up, and it was a paradigm that was well established. And I tend to believe we still have some practitioners of that very paradigm that believe that they learn, they earn, and they retire. But the likelihood of it going in that smoothest succession in the 21st century, in my opinion, is slim to non-existent. I'm curious, Jim, what did your dad do in corporate America?
My dad worked for the same company for 40-plus years. He went to West Point, graduated from there, was an excellent left-handed pitcher, which he told me about many, many times. The grandkids literally learned how to say, "Pop struck out Duke Snider," before they could even say their own parents' names. So it was that. But he worked in combustion engineering. He started in sales in northern Jersey and Manhattan for a number of years, moved to Simsbury in 1964 when Simsbury was just a bunch of weeds and grass, but stayed with combustion engineering and eventually topped out at senior vice president of sales for CE. But, those days, it's hard to find those folks. They're lifers. And my dad did very well by the company. The company did very well by my dad. He literally had friends that he worked with, and they worked for him for many, many years. And that's wonderful, but it's tough to find these days.
Well, I think so, and I think it transcends, at least in my mind, tough to find those kinds of people. It's tough to find those kinds of corporations that have, among other things, the loyalty to their employees that we were mentored and told about and watched as our parents grew older and were given the golden watch and all the other things that went along with that whole mindset back then.
I agree. It's companies these days, there's some are better than others, but it's pretty short-sighted. It's here we go. There's acquisitions, there's mergers, there's layoffs. It's just a lot more volatile than it probably used to be.
So when you jumped into the working world, what was the first step? What were you doing?
It goes before that. I went to Providence College, went to graduate school, got an MBA, and
damn,
yeah.
And you're here on this show?
Yeah, well, I didn't say it was all good.
Hey.
Why, you have an MBA too? Then you're here on my show?
I got like 6 other degrees. Come on, what's up with that? MBA. Oh.
Well, let's bring it back down, and then I sold local radio. That's why I started off.
Me too.
So, did you?
What station?
Jeez, my first station was WHOM in Portland, Maine.
No, I was
Really?
TIC.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was right here in Farmington.
No
TIC
kidding.
AM, yeah.
So it was literally and I had the best boss. My first boss ever was the best boss that I ever had to this day.
Now, isn't that signal, though,
just
officially
great.
out of New Hampshire, if I'm not mistaken?
Tom Russo, buying media, knowing the landscape. Good for you. Exactly.
100,000 water.
That's all right. I'm done.
Okay.
Wow. So yeah, and then I came back to Hartford and sold for WDRC for a few years. Worked in Manhattan, learned the national rep game there, and just started earning my management stripes. Went out to Harrisburg, was director of sales out there. St. Louis, did the same deal out there. So, it was just sort of a natural progression. Learned a ton. Learned a lot of good things. Learned some not so good things. And that was the time when the acquisitions and mergers from radio standpoint started coming in. Companies started realizing that, hey, radio is pretty profitable. This is an easy pie. It doesn't cost a lot. So it was just really a Pac-Man effect going on. And then about 13 years ago, my wife and I truly made a lifestyle decision when we were asked yet to move again out to the West Coast. We made a decision that, do we want to keep moving? So Rachel had just had our third child, and we truly made a lifestyle decision. We want to come home. And home to us, it certainly was for me, was for Simsbury. My wife's from Meriden. But we wanted to live where we wanted to live.
Good for you.
And the first boss that I go back to, Paul Bettany, said the following: Jimmy Tully, you know what? Work where you live, don't live where you work.
Good advice.
I have the right.
Yeah.
And listen, that's tough, but we made that decision. So that's sort of what brought me to Seasons.
When you first got into sales, was there any trepidation about being a salesperson, or because Dad had really, kind of burned that trail ahead of you, you felt?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, you're always a byproduct of your upbringing to some extent, both good and bad. But yeah, and I enjoyed it. I was good at it. I like people. I legitimately like people. I care about it. I like to talk to people. Most importantly, I like to learn from people.
Well, I think
Quiet,
that's
Tom, I'm talking. No, go ahead.
I think that's the fundamental issue right there. And the reason I bring that up is, as I shared with you, we know that we have lots of viewers and listeners that are entrepreneurs, either in the game or they're contemplating going into the game. Often, though, one of the issues is the sales component. And I believe to the core that the point that you just brought up, and you and I would be twin souls in this particular case, the liking of people is critical to being successful in sales. I've run into lots and lots of salespeople over the years that you really can tell that they really don't like people, or they're having a very bad succession of days.
Or they don't really care. I mean, listen, it's a hard gig. To be a sales professional in any type of industry is not easy because, to a degree, like we talked about before, you really are your own entrepreneur. Many times you're dictating your own success via commission or bonuses. It's not easy. I have more empathy for people that call on the phone, and yeah, it's a pain in the rear, but man, they're trying to earn a living. And I get that. And I probably more than others am more patient with that. But it's not easy. But you really have to care about the people. And you have to care about their success. But you can tell, like I can, who's in it just to get, hey, here's the schedule, here's this, and run out, see you later, and you don't see them. And that's not long-term success. But it's a tough gig.
Absolutely. So how long ago was it that the idea of Seasons came into your realm and fruition, for lack of a better way of articulating it?
I wanted to do something on my own. And in Simsbury, okay, what am I going to do? Well, they weren't going to let me put up a TV station. They weren't going to let me put up a radio station. Okay, the FCC has funny rules about that. But I started seeing a lot of different things that would come across into my mailbox in Simsbury. So I saw local papers. I'd see, current things, a lot of different things. But I didn't feel there was anything that really mirrored the Farmington Valley. There's a lot of local they all do a great job. There's value in everything. I'm a big believer in that. But I felt if I could put something together that really mirrored the valley from a look, from a style, that had hyper-local content, and then take a direct mail component and mail it to every single household in the Farmington Valley, I have a high-value proposition, throwing some marketing and advertising slang, to the advertisers out there, where it's predictable. They know what they're going to get. So I felt if I could do that, let's see how good a salesperson I really am, because I don't have anything. I went out with an 8-page prototype. that being said, I was very fortunate to meet some great people early on. The first person I met, I knew through grammar school. I hadn't seen him in 15 years. We met on a Little League field. A friend of mine, John Hagan. He said, "What are you doing now?" And I told him. I said,
What was that guy's name?
John Hagan, friend
Okay.
of mine.
Do you know John, Brian?
No, I thought you said Hegney, which I was going to fall out of my chair.
And I know who that is too, by the way.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I think so.
How is it that we don't know each other? You live in Simsbury. I live in Avon. We don't know all that stuff we were talking about beforehand. We've probably run across one another.
We will compare notes afterwards.
All right, then.
So, he just said, "What are you doing now?" I said, "Geez, I thought about this idea." He said, "That's a great idea. That's neat." But still, Tom, it comes, can you sell it? So I was fortunate to, again, find some good people, put some ideas together with an 8-page prototype, go out, and here we go.
So I want to explore the 8-page prototype. What resources did you have to leverage to put that together? I'm curious.
Resources meaning money?
Yes, money, talent, calling in favors, any and all of the above. The reason I ask that is because obviously for you that had to be part of the startup sweat equity and startup, hard cold equity investment. That's a concern of our viewers and listeners is, how do we go about doing this? How do we cross that threshold? How much is it going to cost? What do we need to do?
Before we get too far down the line, though, let's give him a chance to just say, here's the elevator speech for what Seasons Magazine is.
Okay.
Because the listeners still don't know what that is yet.
And now's a good time to show and tell.
This is my show and tell. So we have a Seasons of the Farmington Valley. That came out in fall of 2006. This is the last editions. Seasons of West Hartford came out in 2007. Last but not least, Seasons of Glastonbury came out in fall of 2008.
And these come out how often?
They come out 4 times a year, hence the term seasons.
For the seasons.
So,
okay. Good.
They'll be out this year.
Brian doesn't miss anything.
He is good.
He
comes
is
from
good.
a radio
I told
background,
you.
I can see
That's
this.
right.
And we're not narrowing hours for you either. So, it comes out mid-April, mid-June, early October, early December. The value proposition on it, again, it goes to every single household. I have what I term varsity players from the writing standpoint, from the photography. I mean, it's a gorgeous piece. We know what we're not. We're not trying to be the New Yorker here. We're not trying to be Fortune. We have a really great local magazine that, again, goes to every single household. I have a phenomenal creative director. Her name is Lisa Remo. Lisa does a great job, but we have really great people that, from copywriting to production to every single piece of the pie. And I'm very fortunate about that. And they like their association with Seasons. It's fun for them, but it's hard work. I get more people say, "Well, is this your full-time job?" Yeah, it sort of is. Especially when you wear a lot of hats like most entrepreneurs have to do.
Absolutely.
So we've taken that. It's sort of classic media, what I would call, with a twist, because it's every single household. It's direct mailed. And we've married new technology to it. We believe in technology. We like that. This shows a great example of technology. So we do everything from the QR codes where you see the black dots. We've just taken it up the next level. We call them mag tags. So our association is directly with Microsoft. We also do social media. We just broke that out, and we'll be talking about that more and more next 2 weeks. Social media, 2 years ago was sort of, okay, what's this, tweet and all that. It's now a play. Local, small to medium-sized advertisers, how do we do this? What do we do? We now have a division of Seasons magazines called Seasons Creative that does specifically social media. So we do a lot of new technology, and we marry the two of them together. We don't want to be what we would term a one-trick pony. We want to do more than that. We know what our lead dog in the race is every single time, but we want to do more than that. I think we do a really good job.
That's really nice to hear. You're very passionate about it. So let's go back now that I think our listeners and viewers have a really good sense of what the product is. One more time, that 8-page prototype. Were you calling in chips? Were you breaking out hard, cold cash? Were you doing a combination of the two?
All of the above.
Okay.
Anything to start, anything to survive. I had the folks on the creative side were great. Put together some information for me. Here's the look, here's the style, because when you go into a business, you have an idea, but until you really get into it, okay, fine. And then you start narrowing it down. And then it comes out with an 8-page prototype. Here we go. So I probably had maybe 10 of them. And here we go. It's put on your briefcase, put on your suit and coat, and go out there and hustle. Start talking to the people that you're not wasting their time. They're proper, who you think would have a great fit for the magazine. And I was fortunate. First time out of the gate, I hit my first shot. I sold. And I've never forgotten that. We Irish have long memories, good or bad. And I've reminded them every once in a while, geez, I'll never forget. So, and then that person said, how about going here and here and here? Here's some people you should talk to. Because you have a unique product. Let's see if you can do it.
Now you have a leg up on a lot of entrepreneurs that don't have that sales instinct, which is so key. So what do you suggest to the folks that are tuning in right now? Because clearly you had a vision of the demographic and psychographic that would be appropriate for your publications that would benefit from advertising inside of your publications.
Sure.
What do you suggest to those that are tuning in that seems Greek, foreign? They're not really embracing, how to go about targeting that right individual.
You need to learn how to sell. You have to get out there in some respect. If not, you better find somebody, because there's some fantastic ideas. And I can only speak in the publication arena. There have been some off-the-charts ideas. They're great, but they couldn't sell a thing. And you have to be able to do that, or you better be able to find somebody. As an entrepreneur, you need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. I'm the first one. I know exactly what I know. I'm trying to learn more. And there are things I'm clueless on, MBA or not. There are just things I don't get. I'm just not that good at it. And frankly, I don't have the time or the energy to really, you have to have a desire to learn that. It's not me.
And Brian, I think, will smile because it reminds me of a book that has been mentioned on the show more than any other book out there, and that's The E-Myth Revisited by Thomas Gerber. And I don't know if you've read it, but if you haven't, put it on a short list. It's a great book. In so many words, though, you echo a big part of what Mr. Gerber tries to convey in the book. Recognize your strengths and then surround your people with who have the strengths that reflect your weaknesses, so that this way it's a nice even balance. But often an entrepreneur feels that because he or she has one gift, that one gift will manage to carry them over the finish line. And as we know, the business graveyard is populated with lots and lots of businesses that weren't even able to come close to getting over that that finish line.
There are. I'm a big sports fan, and I've followed sports since I've been about 5 years old. So as maturity comes in, you start looking at how these teams are built, how the organizations are built, and it's amazing how many wrong things that are being done. Just look around us at the teams that are succeeding. Look at what the Giants do, what they believe, what their philosophy is. But it all starts at the top.
Always.
And it's amazing. Just watch. You can look at the Giants as an example, even the Red Sox, who continually reinvest. For Red Sox fans, Yankees, same thing. They could pocket a lot. They continually reinvest, and they can outspend their mistakes. And look at a team like, which I'm a fan of, the New York Mets, continually making mistakes from the top.
We have a Mets fan here today, folks.
Yeah. I mean, when the owner yesterday is handing out underdog shirts to his team, he's trying to be cute. He's sending a heck of a message to everybody. Hi, we're already going in a little bit. We're going to have a tough year, so let's be there. What a heck of a message.
I know.
That's the owner saying that.
I know. That's
what
scary.
What are you doing?
On the other side of it, and not to talk about Red Sox, because I know there might be a couple people viewing this right now that are going to be upset with me, but I love what Bobby Valentine did right from get-go. Said, there's no beer, there's no anything in the locker room from this point forward. We're here to play ball, and that's it. You can find other times to drink. So we'll see what happens there, but I thought that was rather a good and clear message on his part, especially after what happened last season with those guys.
He's Bobby Valentine. It starts early, and it's great theater.
Well, exactly.
It's great theater.
But with that said, you talk about team, and you have already referenced production people and creative people and creative directors and copywriters. Tell us a little bit about assembling that team, what it was like, and you being the decision maker that I'm hiring you, I'm not hiring you, I'm bringing you in. Are these all employees? Are these all vendors? Are they all some kind of combination of the two?
Well, I was, again, very fortunate because out of the gate, I had a creative director who knew a lot of people. She was very well networked and very well respected by these folks. I did not have an idea about how do I get a right photographer, what, but that's something you learn.
Right.
You learn that as time goes on. So we had a really great staff of people. They're not employees. They're all freelance folks, and there's a lot of really great, talented people out there. So eventually, from a creative standpoint, from a quality standpoint, we start setting barometers. So there are, from writers, there are feature writers and there's newspaper writers. They're both great, but they're two different animals. There's photographers who specialize. I've got a wonderful photographer, a guy named Mike Fiedler. Mike is just couldn't be a nicer guy. His specialty is portraits, people. God, he gets it. He just gets it. So you start surrounding yourself with really great people because that's what a business is. That's what a team is. Get really great people that are proud to work with you. They're proud to be a part of what you're doing, no matter what it is, whether it's a magazine or software, whatever. It's all about the people. Treat them right, pay them. It's funny. A lesson that was taught to me early on with Seasons was two things. I asked somebody, why won't this work? And I think entrepreneurs should always ask themselves, look at the back end. Why won't this work? Take off the rose-colored glasses. We all have rose-colored glasses when we start off. Why won't this work? And I was told, your ego. I said, what do you mean by that? And they told me. I said, well, that's not an issue. That's why you never see me here. I think that's important. It's about what's in the magazine. And the other thing is you don't pay your folks. And respect them. Why wouldn't I do that? Just watch. So I've always tried. I've never forgotten that either. So I'm very thankful to all the folks that contribute. We have a really great lineup of people. I got the nicest call today from a woman who does all the notes on nature. Her name is Kathy Goff. She went to a party on Saturday night, and she's the sweetest woman, and called me and said, I can't tell you how many people at a dinner party on Saturday night, and Kathy's a little shy, came up and said, you're the person who does notes on nature with Seasons. We rip it out. We send it to people all across the country. She was tickled.
That's great.
What a great story. I can't sell that, but for me as an owner and an entrepreneur to hear something like that, wow, what a win.
Well, you're right. You can't sell it, but the energy on its own helps to perpetuate the sale because it's there. There's a good vibe energy, not to be too philosophical or artsy-fartsy in this moment, but I firmly believe in that. So I know what's curious to me. I'm listening to you, and you're speaking with authority to being a publication kind of dude, and yet at the same time, you shared with us early on in the show that your background, for a good portion of it, was the broadcast media. So what was the education process like for you to migrate from the wonderful world of broadcast to the wonderful world of print and / direct mail media? How much homework did you have to do, James?
I'm continually doing the homework.
Amen.
I'd love to say, Tom, I get it right now. I know it. I mean, I don't. I continually learn, and that's part of the fun of being an entrepreneur, publisher, whatever it is. You better keep learning and have that desire to learn some stuff, small, big, whatever it is, and not be afraid to make mistakes. I've made more of them than anybody out there, but they've never been crippling mistakes. And that's critical as an entrepreneur. Make your mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Take a chance. I was telling somebody this the other day. Make decisions. Please make decisions. Make a right decision. Make a wrong decision. But when you've not made a decision, you've made a decision. That decision is to fail. Make decisions. So, yeah, there was a bit of a learning curve into it. Specs, what? High res, what? How do we get that? What? But you learn. And there's still plenty. If you ask my creative director, yeah, he doesn't know everything, and that's fine. So it was a bit of a curve, but still it comes down to value for the advertisers, value for the readership. We do not lose sight of, yeah, it's a free publication. We want a lot of value in for the readers. And we have, anybody can go onto our website, seasonsmagazines.com. We have a ton of information on there. One of the critical things was, and I presented this about an hour and a half ago to a client, we talk about, we had an audit done a couple of years ago by a company called CVC, okay? Bottom line is they talked to 582 people, and that's what it says about Seasons. So you can see that all online, but we never, ever lose sight of the fact of how important the readership is to what we do.
And so what does the client come to you? Or when you're meeting with the client, better way to ask the question. Are they asking you questions like readership numbers, response, all that goes along with, a media buy, marketing, advertising?
They ask, what's your price? Okay. It's still, a lot of times commodity driven. We lose sight of the value, every single house. And that's my job, or any entrepreneur's job, is to continually bring up what you believe in, what your value is. So whatever you're selling, boy, you better think you're selling the best thing possible. I'm not the be-all, end-all to everybody, but I'm a really nice piece of a marketing budget. I think I should be part of every marketing budget. And even if I don't, I think I should be anyway, and that's okay.
So many potential advertisers out there, think Brian first. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Boy,
I'm just thinking, there's got to be like a piece that he wants to do on me. I live in the Farmington Valley. I work here in this business in Glastonbury. He has Farmington Valley and Glastonbury magazines. You see what I'm saying?
My earphones just ducked out on that.
All right. Is it? How much longer do I have to be nice to him? Because I got a whole lot of stuff I want to say.
He's tough.
It's all right.
But I think there is a story there because what Brian is doing, not to shift the focus of the interview this evening, but what this guy is doing is very unique and more is becoming mainstream. It really absolutely is.
And that's part of what we do with Seasons. We look for we love people. We love local people that do something that don't get a lot of play. That people would say, boy, that's pretty neat. I did not know that. We do that with all our history sections. And there's some really great sections in there for people that have lived there for even a long time. I mean, it's a good, solid, relatively quick read.
It's interesting because the Connecticut Historical Society is going to start doing something for us, both audio, video, and written. Maybe we can combine efforts on that.
I'd love to.
That would be fun. And you know what? We don't have to pay them.
Now, I just want to put a little pitch here for me. I work in East Hartford, which is one town next to West Hartford and Glastonbury, and I live in Andover. So, I mean, there's got to be some synergy there, don't you think, Brian? I'm guessing
I don't even know where Andover is.
I'm not. After the show, neither am I. So, folks, I want to remind you that we have Jim Tully with us this evening from Seasons Magazines. We're going to take a short break, but if you're not following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, then you sure as hell better. But before we say bye for this few moments, I want to read to you a commercial from one of our sponsors.
Please be Deepwater Lobster.
Okay,
please.
no, that's next. It's CentralCTDental.com. It's the home of Doctors Camp, Sambor, and my favorite, Lupini.
Lupini!
For serious issues or routine checkups, there is simply nowhere else to go. They're easy to get to. They're right on the Plainville-Farmington line. All you need to do is call 860-747-5761. That's 860-747-5761. Or you can go online and make an appointment at CentralCTDental.com, the homes of Dr. Camp Sambor and Mr. Lupini. We'll see you in a minute.
Budwitz & Meyerjack PC is a large Connecticut-based CPA firm with offices in Cheshire and Farmington, Connecticut. Large enough to handle engagements of enterprises with annual revenues in excess of $100 million, yet small enough to cater to smaller businesses and individual clients who expect personalized attention from partners and staff. Client service is the cornerstone of our practice. Our clients have a fixed fee for their audit and tax work. What this means to the client is we're approachable. Personal communication and client services make for strong relationships. Budwitz & Meyerjack, certified public accountants.
And the Emmy goes to Stats Magoo.
This is Mr. Magoo's first Emmy for an internet podcast. Recently, he came in second place in the Moodus County Fair Chili Cook-Off, and in 1973 was awarded the Sportsmanship Honorable Mention for 5th grade badminton.
Wow, what a shock. I'm just so overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. I mean, got so many people to thank. I mean, no, wait, I have to thank people.
That was Stats Magoo.
I love you, Mom.
Congratulations, Stats. Coming up next, Justin Bieber sings Smells Like Teen Spirit. We'll be right back.
Sandits Travel for business and leisure. We'll take you there. Sandits Travel has been proudly serving Connecticut since 1960. That's over 50 years. And we're ready for another 50 years of superior service. Whether you prefer to come in, call in, or log on, we invite you to explore how efficient, diverse, and fun it is to book through Sandits Travel. Save your money and your time with us. Sandits Travel. We'll take you there. No! The guys who had to choose between online radio or underwater pole vaulting.
I don't understand what's going on here.
It was an easy choice.
Oh, yeah.
On the Horn. On thehorn.com.
That reminds me of an old Ventures song, Walk Don't Run. It has the opening motif, right?
Oh,
am I right?
What guitar work?
Yeah, absolutely. And you remember, that makes me feel good. I'm definitely the oldest guy in the room, but I'm not that much older. Welcome back, folks, to the second half hour of We're Open for Business. Again, we have Jim Tully with us this afternoon from Seasons Magazines. But before we get to Jim again, we're going to read one of Jim's favorite all-time commercials, and that is our sponsor, Deepwater Seafood.
Deepwater.
Of Avon. And as Brian always likes me to say, it's just for the halibut. It's amazing that we get paid to do these things. Anyway, if you're looking for the freshest seafood in the Farmington Valley, then you want to make sure that you check out Deepwater Seafood.
Deepwater.
Of Avon. They will work with you and your schedule. Call ahead. 860-676-9657, or you can fax them, same area code, 677-2281. Deepwater Seafood will set aside your order for pickup after work. Now, if you're wondering what their hours are, I'm sure you all are. It's Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., and then Saturdays, yes, folks, they're open on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, the next question's got to be, what's on the menu? It's sea scallops, it's fresh oysters, it's fish and chips, it's soups, it's bisques, it's chowders. If you're having a party, it's paella for 12 and a salad. And all you need, the paella is made with spicy chicken, sausage, scallops, shrimps, and you guessed it, Brian's favorite, halibut. So there's only one place in the Farmington Valley for the best in seafood, and that's Deepwater Seafood.
Deepwater.
Of Avon. How do we do, Jim?
I'm going there right after I break out of here.
Guess what the family's having for dinner? So, I know because you and I have been in discussions off and on over the past few weeks that one of the visions that you have for your publications is to move beyond the Connecticut borders and to take this business of yours and begin to franchise it. Tell us a little bit about, one, what gave birth to the franchise idea, and then once you've done that, share with us what you needed to learn to begin the process of making that happen.
I truly did want to franchise this early on.
Okay.
And I still didn't have a product, but I did want to do that. Again, it still comes down to sales. It comes down to success and all the others. But I had a different name for Seasons of the Farmington Valley when it came out. I benchmarked it with a couple of people, and they said, if this is what you want to do long term, Seasons of, which we now have actually trademarked around the country and I think in Europe too, which is pretty neat, that would play almost anywhere. So I wanted to do that since day one, but I wanted to wait for the right time. I didn't want to knee-jerk something. I just wanted to wait for it till we had the product down that we could really franchise from a value standpoint to potential franchisees around the country. So this is a brand new business. The time has been right. It takes a long time to do this, but I think that we've got the ingredients down that we can do this. And we're excited about it. We know the product is very, very good. We know the markets that we want. I hired a company to go out and look for the Farmington Valleys around the country, or the great markets like Glastonbury towns, Glastonbury and South Glastonbury. We wanted to find cities like West Hartford. So I gave a research company certain parameters that I was looking for and said, please come up with a map. Tell me how many opportunities or market opportunities are out there. And I think off the top of my head, they came up with 260, 270, something along that line. So
that's serious.
And I'm probably missing a number of them out there. So, and again, it comes back to the people. Do we have the people that can actually implement this? So there's really a lot involved in franchising. But again, it starts with the product and where your unique positioning is on this. And I think we have knock on wood, a good shot at doing this.
Now, my knowledge of franchising, you could fit in a thimble and still have some room left over for a shot. But with that said, I know that because I've been involved working with a couple clients that have done franchising, and the legal components of it seem to be rather complex.
It is. I'm sure there's some books out there. I've read some about franchising, but there is a storied history about franchising, what to do and what not to do, not only from a franchisor side, but the franchisees, where they were burned repeatedly. So states started taking notice, started putting in some laws to really protect potential franchisees, which was probably 20 years past when it should have happened. But there are a lot of laws. Some vary by states. So the biggest legal document that you have is called an FDD, which is a franchise disclosure document, something along that lines. But that's really what you file with each one of the states. And they do their due diligence on you, too.
Now, I got to believe that, again, there's some of our viewers and listeners this evening and that are going to come back and visit this link several times that are going to ask, what are some of the do's and don'ts? If I'm considering purchasing a franchise, and whether it's for seasons or whatever the case may be, the next Subway, what are some of the do's and don'ts that you would encourage those that are considering this as a next career move that they should pay attention to?
They have to look at franchising as you don't want to fit a square peg into a round hole. You're really buying, shall we say, a career. You're investing into a career too. One of the nice things about being an entrepreneur is that you wake up, you still have a job, which there's a lot of advantages to it. But the most important thing a potential franchisee should look at is what fits their lifestyle. Do you want to work at this 40, 50, 60 hours a week? There's no problem with that. Are you a bricks and mortar person where you want to run a restaurant, things along that lines? Or are you looking for a little bit more of a lifestyle? That's one of the key areas because there's great franchises that are available in both aspects there. Find something that you like. There's so many different flavors out there. So if you're good in sales, great. If you're good in, food service, there's a lot of different areas. Try to find something that fits you or you think would fit you. And do your homework. Find out about the franchise. There's so much information these days on the web that you can explore, find out everything.
Any sites or books that come to mind that you'd like to share with our viewer?
Oh boy,
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Boy, there's a great book I just read, The Do's and Don'ts. It came more from the franchisor side, but you really can look at franchise.com as a great one. I spoke to those folks today. FranchiseSolutions.com. There's a lot of different ones out there, and they run from the gamut. I mean, when I go to franchise shows, it's amazing. There's hot wings here, and then the next thing you know, you can go to publishing, or there's everything out there. So my advice, do your homework. Do your homework on what you think would fit you best, your lifestyle best. But when you go into it, you're jumping into the pool.
Now, you've used that word two, three times, and working with you on a project that will go to the next level tomorrow, you and I. In reviewing the script that we worked together on, you talked about, with seasons, it being a lifestyle business. And I think that might be the phrase or something really close to it. Expound on that a little bit, because when I read the first draft of the script, that phrase really, spoke to me. But I'd like to hear you share with our listener what exactly you mean by that.
When I mean a lifestyle fit, it's got to fit you and your family. So a lifestyle business, Seasons as a franchise, or Seasons franchise, Seasons of Maui, I keep bringing up, would be a great lifestyle business for someone who's good in sales, that understands networking, that is passionate about what they do, but still wants the freedom to be able to go see their daughter's softball game in the afternoon, wants the freedom to be able to take teacher conferences, wants some freedom, but still they want to work, the 40 hours. The difference with an entrepreneur is you can pick the 40 hours you want. If you want to work at night, God bless you. If it fits in with what you want. If you want to work Saturdays, that's fine too. But it gives yourself some lifestyle opportunities and some time with flexibility with your family that you can sort of create on your own.
So with it's a great description, and I couldn't agree with you more. With Seasons, is it something that a Tommy Russo, a Brian Sullivan can do out of their dining room if they choose to? Do you need a brick and mortar location?
No, it's a home-based business, which is part of the attraction for at least what we do. Some people like, again, that flexibility, that lifestyle. There's low barriers to enter in terms from a financial standpoint, which is great. But others like a brick and mortar. They like to go out, and again, it fits whatever you're about.
What about the, when I think lifestyle business, and I own two of them now, so I get it from that standpoint. But my feeling has always been, what I'm giving up here is stock options. That's what I'm giving up. I'm giving up those huge hits that, all of my friends, now that we're in our late 30s, early 40s, are starting to get. But on the flip side, you're right. I'm not traveling on the plane, and I'm not, working 80 hours a week at an office. I can work anywhere. And to me, that's the lifestyle part. But there's a real downside to it.
Absolutely.
And that if you want to you can't have a lifestyle business and expect to be worth $10 million one day. You just can't do that. It is really too slowly. It's kind of like the old model where you save your money slowly over time, and deposit and invest it wisely, and then you can retire for a little bit, and there may be a little bit left over for someone at your death. But really, it's just to get you through when the beer truck comes to hit you. Are there opportunities for folks who want to be one of the franchisee of Seasons to build a little equity, and all of a sudden one day, Seasons of Maui, the guy says, this is fun, but I want to go try this internet radio thing. I'm going to sell my franchise, and I don't want Seasons corporate to give me a headache over this. Can he sell his share?
He absolutely can. There's a lot of different areas that they can do it, but sometimes there's when you hear the term lifestyle. Oh, that's great. We'll be having margaritas at 3. Yeah. Not necessarily. That's not the term when I mean lifestyle. When I mean lifestyle, it's to be able to schedule and carve out work that fits your life. It doesn't mean margaritas at 3, up at 9:30. It's not about that. Then you are going to sit there and struggle.
It's also because you're not working at the stock option large company place. It is definitely, and I tell my wife this all the time, it's really, I live breath to breath in this business in my other business. It's sort of, I never know if I'm going to go out of business this week. I just don't know.
Well,
a few years ago, I didn't know if I was going to make payroll 5 or 6 times in a row. I was like, oh, Jesus.
It's not an easy business being an entrepreneur. It's not easy. What you're really doing, you're investing in yourself. You're investing in your idea. You're investing in your product.
No doubt about it. I had someone say to us, my company is just shy of 30 years as a Connecticut-based corporation.
Wow, that's awesome.
So we've been kicking around for a while. But someone said to us early on, it's great to own your own business. You get to work half days. You just decide what 12 hours that's going to be. And I have to say that, and there's people in my life that would agree that there are times that the 12-hour days, there have been plenty of times for long stretches that the 12-hour days are the reality. Now, the beauty of the 12-hour day is just what you said. I take the time every morning to work out, I take the time, certain aspects. I go home on certain days of the week to pick up my youngster so that I can be there for her and co-raise her. Now, does that mean that I get up extra special early on another morning or work extra specially late on that particular night, what have you? Absolutely. But that would be my version of lifestyle, which I think is in synergy with yours as well. But for those of you out there that are thinking that it is margaritas at 3, then, you might want to stay with the mega corporation because
and that's probably the quickest way to go out of business. In a lifestyle business, you start having margaritas at 3. That's probably the quickest way.
3:30 you can get away with it, but
well,
not at
you've
3.
been kicking around long enough, I think, to way back when, ad club meetings and the like, that there were people, we'd go out for lunch, and there were people that were down in martini after martini.
Saw it all the time in New York.
Like,
they come back to the office, and then they would smoke and take a nap, and it's just a different atmosphere. It just that doesn't play.
There are rooms at this. There's a place on Madison Avenue called Young and Rubicam, YR, and they have rooms where the executives go to lay down and take a nap after lunch. I don't know if they still have them there. This is back in the 90s, so, but it's fascinating stuff.
There you go.
Stock options. Stock options.
That's something to look forward to. Now, you mentioned earlier on that you guys are in a trade show. Is that a good opportunity for, one, tell us a little bit about it, and 2, is it a good opportunity for those that are considering, a franchise as a career option to attend and be a part of?
If you're looking to be a franchisee buying into some franchise, my strong suggestion is do your homework. And one of the great ways you can do is just walk around a franchise show. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're interested in. Say you want to be, I don't care, you want to get into the franchise business of cleaning service. You can go to really any franchise show. Just watch how they do business. It's a great way. That's a great taste. How do they do business? When you walk by their booth, are they grabbing you? Are they professional to you? Are they just having some people fill some seats that are sitting back and just, watch how they do business? Are they there 10 minutes early before the start of the show? Or are they there 10 minutes later? I can tell you the printing company I got years ago at a trade show in New York was simply because they were there 15 minutes before the, quote, lunch hour was over. They just happened to be standing there. And I was there because I didn't have a lot of time left. It's made them a lot of money.
There
But
you
they
go.
showed that they hustled. I like people that can hustle. So my advice to potential franchisees, go out to some shows. Pick any shows.
It's a really great observation because all the times that I've both as an exhibitor and then just someone walking through the show, I have been stunned and amazed how lazy how many exhibitors can be. They have the booth, they've set the booth up, and then they sit there like a doormat.
Not only this, it's the money they've spent
It's
or their company spent. Believe me, you can tell who owns what by who's behind those chairs.
Absolutely.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
I think you used the phrase before the show got going, and I couldn't agree with you more. And as many of our listeners know, I have a performance, serious part of my background is in performance, and I think you used the phrase it's showtime, and it really is showtime when you're whether you're exhibiting at a trade show or you're walking into a client's office. And that doesn't mean that there has to be pomp and circumstance in a brass band, but you need to be on. You need to be on your game all of the time. And again, folks, those of you that are considering leaving the corporate world and doing what folks like Jim, Brian, and myself are doing, running our own businesses, there's a lot of advantages to it, absolutely, but you need to know that if you want it to get done, the likelihood is you're the one that is doing the doing.
It's almost a secret handshake when you become an entrepreneur, and you're not going to know that until you get in the game. You really don't. There's a lot of pros. There's a lot of cons. I can't tell you how many times I've woken up in the middle of the night and end up watching Craig Ferguson. Just because your mind doesn't stop. It's the way it goes. You get moody. I'm probably the leader in that. Up and down, good, bad. It's just because it's you. It's nobody else.
Right.
You're not showing up at a desk and every second Friday you're getting a paycheck and here's your FICA taxes. It just doesn't work like that. But the upside's pretty good too.
You're absolutely right. We had a guest going back, I'm going to say probably 6 months ago, Kate Bolduc. Do you know Kate?
No.
Kate was, though she's recently taken a break in her career, prior to becoming the executive director of the Hartford Arts Council, prior to that, she was an executive VP at Travelers. I think I have this correct. It was either Aetna or Travelers. I'm sorry, Kate, if I don't remember. Made the decision that she wanted to leave the corporate world, that she had become very successful in it and needed to do something completely different. This woman is very courageous, at least that's my impression of her. Went to become the executive director of the Hartford Arts Council. And I share this because of what you just said. She went from realizing that in the corporate world, that if she needed something done, all she had to do was essentially point or hit the right button on the phone to delegate that job. When the copier didn't work at the Arts Council, it was her that had to pick up the phone. When there wasn't enough coffee in the coffee machine, it was her that had to put the coffee in the coffee machine. The list goes on. And she said it was a real shocker at first. I mean, she made the adjustment really well from what she indicated, but the reality of going from one world to another for her was a significant one.
Well, there's a show on CBS. They made a show out of that. What's that? Be Your Boss. What's the name of the show on CBS?
I haven't seen it.
They're Undercover Boss, where they get these high rank. And listen, it's an hour infomercial really, but you see bosses at high companies that they put on some fake mask or whatever, they disguise and they go back into the underbelly of their job because they lose sight of that. They lose sight of, whether it's somebody at Wendy's as Dave Thomas who literally did go back and cook his own hamburgers. They lose sight of what's it about. And entrepreneurs need to know how to take out their own trash and need to make a hamburger. And if this doesn't work, how do I get this fixed? So that's sort of thrilling. That's neat.
Now, kind of segueing onto that, it's always interesting to me who coaches the coach, who cheers the coach, and obviously in this case you're leading the charge. But what do you do? I'm going to use a Covey term in this moment, born out of his 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. What do you do to keep the saw sharpened? What do you do to stay fresh? What do you do to stay motivated? Are there people that you go to? Are there books that you read? Are there TV shows that inspire you? What are some of the things? Because clearly, as you said, owning your own business can keep you up late at night, but at the same time, to be driven and to be motivated, to be successful, you've got to have new blood pumping into that system on a regular basis. What do you do to keep the new blood pumping in?
I'm self-motivated, and I'm not running it at 120 miles an hour every single day. That's a lie. Anybody says, "Oh, I'm doing it," you're not. You have to. There are times to let the engine go down a little bit. You have to. Selling overall is a very difficult thing. It takes a unique animal.
Absolutely.
And then to be an entrepreneur on top of that, where you have so many different hats. I mean, an entrepreneur is literally going to touch 10, 12 different aspects of their business minimally every day. Even if it's just an email to somewhere, maybe it's to a bookkeeper, maybe it's to production, maybe it's to this. You're touching a lot of different areas. So you have to be self-motivated. Another interesting part, at least that I found as an entrepreneur, I don't have a lot of people that I can go to. I don't have a boss. Like, man, what do you think about this? Now, there's a couple of people I really respect, but they have their own lives and their own businesses too. So I make sure that when I go there, it's very time well spent for them. They can give me some good advice. I need to know who I can go to get what I need, but still a lot of it falls on my wife, and everyone says she'll turn a deaf. Okay, fine. She has her own career. But a lot of it you have to come up with yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know I speak for myself. I rely. There are some people in my life that help to motivate me, but often it is through my own initiative. I mentioned earlier that I'm reading the Steve Jobs book right now, written by Walter Isaacson, a great book and highly motivating, at least for me. That often is my resource, either listening to things, I don't know who coined the phrase, but I always loved it, University on Wheels, using my drive time in my car to educate myself, and then also, reading and finding things that are going to, in one way or another, personally, professionally, or some happy combination of the two, help me to raise the bar to stay motivated. Because you're right, it's tough to be at 120 miles an hour, but I think if you're doing less than 75 on any given day, that in this market, with the competition that goes on, I mean, use your industry as unique a product as you've come up with as an advertiser, and being in the industry as long as I have, Jesus, I might have a few other alternatives that I can consider, James.
Competition is a good thing, and no one is their own island in terms of their product.
Absolutely.
Everybody's offering something. Here's the latest mousetrap. You're part of a crowded field, and certainly that's the case in advertising.
It's the same thing.
So it goes back to the value that you bring to the table. It goes back to you as a person.
Right.
I tell everyone, if they're considering advertising, I did this a couple hours ago, ask them about Tully. I don't say a word about seasons. When you do some reference checks, ask about Tully. How does he treat you? What do you think of him? And then go into the magazines. Why are you in the magazines? Because I believe in that. It starts from that. That's an important part of what we do here. But it's never dull, Tom. That's one thing as an entrepreneur. You always wake up and it's never going to be the same.
Amen. So with the time that we have left, and I want to remind you folks that we have Jim Tully, or he refers to himself as the Tulster.
We'll go with Jim Tully.
Okay, Jim Tully.
Tullerino. Tullamulla ding dang.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry, Jim.
Yeah. Brian came in at the right time.
That's
okay.
Right. Tell us a little bit about seasons a year from now, seasons 5 years from now. What do you see? What's the vision?
Locally, hopefully the same. More technology, some more platforms for local advertisers to jump on board. The quality will not change. What we do will not change. The writing, the photography stays the same. The 100% households will stay the same. One of my first clients said, when are you going to go subscription? I never will, because then I'd have to give back 90% of your money. We're going to do the same thing, but we do hope to grow it on a local level. From a larger standpoint, I hope we have a lot of seasons around the country in areas, but we continue to deliver the quality that we promise, that our franchisees are successful. One thing in the world of franchising is the minute you take your eye off the franchisee, you lose, because it's about the franchisee that makes you successful as a franchisor. It's not the opposite. So many franchises are getting in trouble these days because it's a money grab. They're just trying to keep taking from the franchisee.
Well, we still have a couple minutes. So let's say Brian decides tomorrow that he's going to become a franchisee.
He'll never cut the mustard.
You picked that out in 1 hour. You got that. You nailed it. Sorry, Brian.
I'm good at cutting the cheese, but not the mustard.
So let's say he decides to do
Sure.
that. What kind of support is he going to expect from corporate, from Jim Tully?
It starts from the beginning phone call for me. If Brian has, I mean, there is a process that you truly have to go through. So he does his due diligence, looks on the website, goes around, talks to people, and then it starts with an inquiry form that they send to me. It's pretty simple. It'll take all of about 4 or 5 minutes. He sends it to me. My job is then to call him within the first 24 hours, and I will call him probably within the first hour or so. And it really starts from there. It's the first phone call. To some degree, it's a sales process. But my job is to make sure that Brian is the right person for Seasons, and conversely, Seasons is the right opportunity for Brian. I do not want a failed marriage here. I'm not going to succeed all the time, nor is the franchisee or Brian going to succeed in picking. My job is to help him make the right decision, because I am built, again, on referenceable clients or referenceable franchisees. So we start the process from there. Is it a good fit? Just like sales.
So can we hammer you a little bit?
Absolutely.
Social media.
Yes.
Would you say Seasons is on top of their social media?
I would say in 2 weeks we absolutely will be.
In 2 weeks. So what happens in 2 weeks?
I've hired a person who is 22 years experience. She is, again, a varsity player. Social media is, it's not that's sort of a cute thing. It's sort of neat. Okay, hey, let's tweet. It's now becoming truly part of almost every company's marketing effort. Has to be.
I agree. Here's what I find suspicious. Young man, stand before the council here. How do you get 22 years experience in social media?
It goes back before that.
Okay.
She's been a lot of corporate training. She is just a great resource that we are excited to have, that really can work with the local businesses to help them from start to, I want to say finish, but there really is never a finish in social media or technology. It really is there. Can really start them off and get them up to 20 miles an hour, all the different, because there's so many moving parts. She's talking with me about some of the other areas that are coming. I haven't even heard about it.
So I'm on your Facebook page right now.
Uh-oh.
It's the light blue one. Let's see. It's that first one that's right on top there. It's that one. Which one is that?
Farmington Valley.
Okay. Farmington Valley. Beautiful. You have all of them in there. And you have 93 likes to your page. So this is low.
It is low. Hence the reason she's been hired.
So she's been hired, and now what is she going to do to increase that? And then what's the first goal for your Facebook page?
The first thing she's going to do is take a look at the organization overall. What's connecting? With, like a lot of other companies, you've got this, a little bit of disjointed here. Yeah, we have an effort here, we have an effort. And they're not talking to each other. They're not maximizing. And Brian, that's what she knows. Remember, I go back to what I don't know. I tell my creative director, tweeting what Facebook, okay. I don't care about somebody going and saying, hey, I'm going to the movies. But there is definitely a business value to some of this. So her first step, Brian, is really looking at what is Seasons doing right, and more importantly, what are we doing wrong, and now how do we build this network? We do a wonderful job of one-way communication. We're the first ones to say it. 53,000 households, hundreds of thousands of people. Great job. We don't do enough two-way communication, and that's one of our jobs that we want to improve.
Excellent articulation.
Now, on your Twitter page, you have the age-old sin of Twitter, because it's been around forever. You have less tweets than you do followers, which is relatively impossible unless you're a celebrity. You have 860 people following you. You've only spoken to them 113 times. So that's one of those little key nuggets there. But I also see watch and win $250 gift card on Season Eats Web TV. Tell us about that.
We do some video also. We feel that's an important. So we did a contest a while ago where you can go onto our website. We do videos. We do very cool videos. We also have a TV show that rubs on public access called Seasons Up Close.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So remember I say
Seasons videos. Here it is, right on your front page.
So we do, we do a lot of different things.
So what are the shows about? You just like walk around the Farmington Valley and make a story out of whatever it is you stumble upon?
Everything starts from here.
Okay.
We will take stories. If you look through the magazine, we have some of the stories. We have video on them. Like we did a wonderful, wonderful story about Friends in the last edition. And it's even noted in the article where it says watch for more. So we will do it, actually. We bring it to life. So we put together a nice 29-minute show or so.
So this is interesting. One of the cool places in West Hartford is this place called localonlinenews.tv, which goes around and is, if we're sort of online radio, they're sort of online TV, where they take just what you would typically see as a newscast and walk around and professionally produce newscasts for whatever's going on in West Hartford. It seems like you're almost trying to do that same effort with a little different, theme and spin of the magazine. You're not looking for hard-hitting political news.
No.
But it seems that there's a natural synergy between there and Seasons Magazine, and as you grow in all these different places, maybe that's something that you can kind of hook onto. Some of these guys who are on, Apple TV already, who are on Ustream, who are on Blog Talk, who are on whatever. I mean, there's a whole network out there of folks. Are your videos up on YouTube?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. I believe the answer is no, and that's part of what she's hired to do. We want to make sure the quality of the videos are up there. But Brian, you hit on it. There's so many great avenues out there that we're just touching right now. And that's sort of the fun part about it. We ask listeners, viewers, tell us what you like. So feedback like that, we can't be everywhere, know everything. We really like that, and we look into that.
And I hope our viewers right now are really paying attention to this portion of the show, because it speaks to the value of continuing, and I'm glad to hear it. Jim has acknowledged that it's an area that he knows they need to grow in. He's made the capital investment of bringing somebody on and is confident. So, I'm going to encourage all of you, one, to go on and like him right now on Facebook, but begin to pay attention to, in 2 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 8 weeks, what's happening with Seasons Facebook, what's happening with Seasons Twitter, what's happening with the Seasons YouTube channel. I think it's great that Jim is moving forward in that direction.
We have one question from the chat room. Do you think it is easier to hire this professional talent for your magazines in this kind of economy, where those very talented people may be getting laid off by the big houses, and maybe you don't have to pay them as much, and then what happens when the economy turns around?
In some respects, it is a buyer's market because it's tough. I mean, the days of full-time jobs at full-time publications, and we use newspapers. Listen, if the Boston Globe almost goes bankrupt and closes, that says, to me, a tremendous newspaper, says volumes. So, Brian, the answer is there are a lot of great, talented people out there that are looking really to show their work in pieces like Seasons that are high quality. They like that. But you got to find the right people. It's still about people. There's a lot of writers out there. So,
how do you pay for writers, or how do you pay for video content creators, or whatever the heck you would call those?
We do it on a per project basis.
Okay, so you come in and you say, all right, if you give me a great story, then here you go.
No, what we try to do is we try to assign the editorial, I want to say, a year in advance, because again, we're only 4 times.
Yeah.
But we have a really great pool of folks
Okay.
that we know their strengths, and we know what type of stories to send to them. And here we go, so they can attack early.
That's great.
Neat stuff. Go ahead.
Well, I think we're actually, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone over time.
Oh,
Mr. Tully,
wow,
you've broken the record.
There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends of all ages, we've had Jim Tully with us this evening, owner, founder of Seasons Magazines. Again, I encourage you to, if you haven't already, go and like them on Facebook and start to pay attention to the progress, not only of what happens with their social media, but make sure if you're in the towns that you distribute to, remind us one more time, Jim, what those towns are.
The Seasons of Farmington Valley, which is every single house in Avon, Simsbury, Farmington, Canton, West Hartford, and Glastonbury, which is Seasons of Glastonbury, obviously, which is Glastonbury and South Glastonbury. And also, don't forget to visit the local advertisers, not only from my publication, but from others. It's still about local. Please support local businesses as much as possible. So that's a huge need in our economy, not only now but down the road.
And
so
to
please do that.
And give you one opportunity here. Speaking of local, and for those who have been tuning in and they want to advertise in one of the season publications, how do they reach out to you, Jim?
Just go to Jim at Seasons Magazines, plural on both, seasonsmagazines.com. And again, do your research. Look on our website. There's a lot of really great information. There's not as many tweets as we'd like, but we'll work on that. But please, go onto our website, do your homework. look at the different advertisers and look at the quality. Please read the magazine. I tell everybody, read the magazine. I think it says.
Jim, great job. Thank you for joining us
Thanks,
this
Tom.
evening.
Thanks,
We're going
Tom.
to have you back at some point in time to see how this whole social media thing is unfolding for you.
No,
2
I'm
weeks.
looking forward to it.
Good night, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Brian, we'll see you next week.
All right, boss.
Budwitz and Meyerjack PC is a large Connecticut-based CPA firm with offices in Cheshire and Farmington, Connecticut. Large enough to handle engagements of enterprises with annual revenues in excess of $100 million, yet small enough to cater to smaller businesses and individual clients who expect personalized attention from partners and staff. Client service is the cornerstone of our practice. Our clients have a fixed fee for their audit and tax work. What this means to the client is we're approachable. Personal communication and client services make for strong relationships. Budwitz and Meyerjack, certified public accountants.
Sandits Travel for business and leisure. We'll take you there. Sandits Travel has been proudly serving Connecticut since 1960. That's over 50 years. And we're ready for another 50 years of superior service. Whether you prefer to come in, call in, or log on, we invite you to explore how efficient, diverse, and fun it is to book through Sandits Travel. Save your money and your time with us. Sandits Travel. We'll take you there.
To be rock stars, they'd be playing air guitar and using a karaoke mic. And they're our kind of people. On the Horn. On the Horn.com.